All right, here we are. Thank you guys so much for being with me here on this webinar tonight. I am so excited to get started. We'll probably take just a quick moment here as people are slowly getting on. We have a lot of people here from different time zones, different parts of the world. It's really diverse here, which is way too cool. I'm actually in Texas, but there are so many folks here from all over. So it's kind of hard for me to interact with you guys while also giving this presentation. So if you're watching, let me know on your Instagram stories or on your Instagram and tag me at Unbound Wellness, and I would love to see it. So if you are here for the webinar on how to overhaul your gut health with Michelle Hoover of Unbound Wellness, that is me, and you are in the right place. That's what we're going to be talking about here this evening. But first, let me formally introduce myself for those of you who I may not know as well. I am Michelle Hoover. I am a certified nutritional therapy practitioner and the writer of everything you'll find at unboundwellness.com. Maybe you've tried my recipes, maybe you've stumbled upon my Instagram or listened to my podcast. No matter how you got here, I'm so happy to have you here. I specialize in gut health, autoimmunity, and real food recipes that are paleo and autoimmune protocol compliant. And as so many of us do in this health space, I have my own healing story as well. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune thyroid disease in my teens, actually after having lifelong gut issues. I dealt with weight issues, anxiety, serious fatigue, mystery food intolerances. The list goes on. You know the drill. I was put on the standard thyroid medication, as many of us are, but nothing really ever changed for me until I turned my focus and realized what a huge role that gut health plays in our health as a whole. I started focusing on healing my gut and everything changed for me. And that is what we're going to be talking about here today. We'll be covering all of the information that honestly changed my life and turned me from a tired, confused, and fed up person to one that lives a full and vibrant life. We'll be talking about why gut health actually matters, common root causes of gut health problems that you may not realize, and a step-by-step approach to overhauling your gut health. We'll be learning a ton of information, but be sure to stick around to the end for a special announcement that you don't want to miss live right here. But first, a disclaimer that I am not a doctor and the materials here within this presentation are not to be used as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult a doctor for professional medical advice. So let's talk about why our gut health really matters and what it affects in the body. We're all here because we know that gut health has a powerful impact on the health of your entire body, your mood, your digestion, your energy, the list goes on. But why? It's very trendy right now to sell gut health products and talk about the gut, but we don't always talk about why it's really important. There are a lot of different reasons your gut health matters, but a lot of it comes down to these two main ideas. One, our gut health determines our ability to absorb nutrients. And two, it determines the overall health of our immune system. So let's talk about those more. First, nutrient absorption matters. It's not just all about the food. The food that we eat does matter, of course, but that's not the entire picture. The health of our gut determines whether or not we can absorb the nutrients that we consume. That's part of why we see so many people eating nutrient-dense and otherwise healthy diets, but still continue to suffer with gut health issues. They're eating a healthy diet, but the health and the landscape of their gut is interfering with their absorption of vitamins, minerals, fats, proteins, and other vital nutrients. I know that some of you experience this struggle firsthand, and it's not fun. Next, the bulk of our immune system is located in our gut. We know that our immune system helps us fight illness, disease, pathogens, and is what allows us to stay healthy and thriving. But a damaged gut and poor health within our gut equals an unhealthy immune system. thus leaving us open to illness and more susceptible to poor health in general. These are the overarching reasons, but what about the tangible side effects of poor gut health? The list of side effects is honestly endless, but we're going to be covering digestive issues, autoimmunity, mood disorders, skin conditions, and hormonal imbalance. First, digestive issues. How does that relate to the health of your gut? When we say digestive issues, we're talking about things like IBS, acid reflux, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, and more. The misconception with digestive issues is that it's all about the food we eat. And if we eat better food, we'll have better digestion. However, food is really only one piece of the puzzle. As we already established, absorption is really important for good gut health and in turn, good digestion. So it's not just the food, it's the landscape of our gut as well. So the next time you have digestive issues and immediately go to blame it on the food that you ate in that day, think twice. It may be something a lot more. Next is autoimmunity, which is something I struggle with personally. What we're talking about when we say autoimmunity is basically any disease when the body begins to attack oneself as a foreign invader. So Hashimoto's disease, Graves' disease, celiac disease, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, the list goes on. There are so many different autoimmune diseases. And I am not alone in that struggle of autoimmunity. The National Institutes of Health estimates that up to 23.5 million Americans suffer from autoimmune disease, and that number is climbing. And that is just the US alone. So it's really scary. Regardless of what part of the body is affected, all autoimmunity is connected, and poor gut health and intestinal permeability is said to be a trigger in all autoimmunity. So why? When our gut lining becomes damaged from food, stress, bacterial overgrowth, etc., our intestinal lining can become overly permeable, meaning that food and other pathogens are able to pass through the lining of our intestines, which is not a good thing. Our body sees that as a foreign invader, what is passing through our intestines, and in turn, that can develop into autoimmunity. It begins attacking one's self. Not only is it a trigger in developing autoimmunity in the first place, it's also a trigger for flares and developing more autoimmune diseases, which is very common. Next, let's talk about mental health and mood disorders. We're talking about anxiety, depression, mood swings, etc. The list goes on. So in this study cited, it was found that a third of patients with irritable bowel syndrome also had anxiety or depression. So there's a correlation there, but why? First, our vagus nerve connects the gut to the brain. So they are literally connected to each other. It's been found in studies that a poor microbiome, which means an imbalance in the bacteria in our gut, can lead to mental health challenges. In this first study here, mice with no bacteria in their gut were found to have altered behavior and brain function. Another study showed that introducing beneficial bacteria to the gut reduced anxiety-like behaviors in mice and reduced psychological distress in humans, which is incredible. And it's starting to become more widely acknowledged that there is this huge connection between mental health and mood and the gut. Next, hormonal imbalance. Hormonal imbalance is so widespread and it's a big deal. It's often behind unexplained weight gain, fatigue, and more. A lot of us suffer with this issue. So, how can our gut potentially be behind hormonal imbalance? Here are a few main ideas. Our body is always making new hormones, and just like everything else in our body, we pass the old ones. However, our gut health affects our ability to detox old hormones. Whether we're constipated or our gut is producing bad bacteria that blocks gut health, it's a huge factor in things like estrogen dominance and other hormonal imbalance, an excess of hormones that we're not able to detox because of the health of our gut. We need a healthy gut to properly detoxify. Next, stress in the body and an excess of our main stress hormone, cortisol, is heavily correlated with hormonal imbalance. If one hormone is off, the rest will become imbalanced. It's just a balancing act. If there's too much cortisol, it's going to throw off another hormone in the body. And if our body is suffering with the stress related with poor gut health issues, that can be more than enough stress to cause hormonal imbalance and an excess of that cortisol. And finally, we've already talked about how hormonal related autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's are correlated with poor gut health, so the links are endless. Next, let's talk about the skin. It sounds simple, but so many people just don't get that we have to have healthy insides to have a healthy outside. Topical treatments can aid in some cases with skin conditions for sure, but if we're unhealthy at our core, we just can't expect to have healthy skin. Inability to absorb nutrients impacts the health and the vibrance of our skin. And we know that gut health is tied to autoimmune skin conditions like psoriasis and more. We could sit here for all of our time talking about all of the side effects of poor gut health, but you get where we're going with this. The gut really matters, and the health of our gut is connected to everything. So how the heck do we get to this point where we have IBS, autoimmune disease, skin conditions, hormone imbalance, and more? Let's talk about some of the potential root causes to poor gut health that you may not know you're struggling with. First, there are dozens of root causes, but the ones that we are going to be covering right here are poor diet, digestive distress, stress and emotional trauma, overgrowths and dysbiosis, and toxicity. So we've talked about how food is not the only piece of good gut health in general, but it does make an enormous difference and can have damaging effects on your gut if you are eating a poor diet. Processed foods, refined sugars, and improperly prepared foods like modern gluten, unsoaked grains, poor quality dairy, refined seed oils, and more all damage the lining of our gut. We know that. But it's not just about what we do eat, but what we don't eat as well. Lack of high quality foods like fiber-rich vegetables, fermented foods, and healthy fats keep our gut from being nourished properly. If we avoid these foods, we are not giving ourselves any nutrients, nor are we giving our gut bacteria what it needs to thrive. Next, let's talk about digestive distress. Poor digestion is a bad side effect of gut health problems, like we've already talked about, but it can also make gut health problems worse. So it's kind of this vicious cycle. The lining of our intestines is only one cell wall thick. Poorly digested food can damage the lining of our intestines. Think about that. If you are eating a poorly digested piece of steak and it is coming in contact with your intestines that are only one cell wall thick, it's not going to treat it so well. Plus, inflammation associated with digestive distress, so bloating, reflux, and so forth, is all damaging to the gut. That systematic inflammation of always having something wrong with your digestion is bad all around. Stress and emotional trauma. How does that cause poor gut health? Elevated stress is damaging to the body, no matter what form it is. So that goes for mental, emotional, and physical stress. They are all damaging. And I don't know about you, but when I'm stressed, I feel it in my gut first. Something always goes off if I'm stressed out. That's where I feel it first. Plus, chronic stress impacts our ability to properly digest. We need to be in a relaxed mode to digest. And if we're stressed out, we can't get there. So stress can have a huge impact on the health of our body and the health of our gut. overgrowths and dysbiosis. And what we mean when we say overgrowths, that is an overgrowth of poor bacteria or fungus in the gut. And dysbiosis means some sort of imbalance of that bacteria. Our gut bacteria balance plays an enormous role in the health of our gut. And we're really only scratching the surface with understanding that. These overgrowths and imbalances can be caused by poor diet, antibiotics, and more. And if our bacteria is overgrown and imbalanced, so things like Candida, SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and endless opportunities for other overgrowths or imbalances, our gut is imbalanced as a whole. And thus it creates an environment for more poor gut health. So again, another vicious cycle. Finally, let's talk about toxicity. Overexposure to chemicals, pesticides, and more damage our gut. It's simple. If we ingest this stuff, it's harmful. We likely all deal with some level of this, but in more extreme cases, mold, heavy metal toxicity, and more are all detrimental to our gut health. And in reality, so many more people deal with this than they realize. Again, there are a lot more little things that can set off your gut health, but these are the big main ideas. So, what do we do about it? Now we're going to be covering how to actually overhaul your gut health with a step-by-step approach. Many gut healing approaches are built off of this 4R protocol that we see here: remove, replace, repair, and reinoculate. You guys have probably seen this 1,000 times, and it always kind of irks me because in reality, as someone who has gone through a lot of gut health issues and has helped others with theirs as a nutritional therapy practitioner, this approach is really lacking and missing a lot of important pieces. So that is why I created this more holistic and complete approach that addresses so much more than just the basics. It starts with recognizing your own issues to create the best plan for you. Then the crucial step of optimizing your digestion. Then removing inflammatory foods and negative mindset, poor quality products, and poor quality sleep, and replacing those with healing foods, optional healing diets, and better sleep mindset and products. Then we move into restoring the gut lining with supplements and healing practices, and re-inoculating the gut with good bacteria. Then we move on to a really important piece that many miss, which is relaxing and focusing on joy, community, and stress reduction, which is so important for healing. And finally, renewing by reintroducing foods mindfully and creating a new lifestyle that is healthy and healing. So let's look at all of this a little bit closer. Let's really break each one of these down. The first step is to recognize and optimize. When we say recognize, that represents recognizing your triggers. Before you start taking action with things like food and supplements, you have to understand the whys and build up your foundation. You can do that by learning about the gut, learning about root causes like we just did, to identify what you could be dealing with, and of course, working with a doctor to get proper testing. Understanding your gut and recognizing your own personal tendencies helps you to customize further and to be successful. You cannot just blindly jump into healing approaches if you don't really know what you're dealing with personally. And so many people do this and waste their time with the wrong approach. And optimize represents optimizing your digestion. This is one of my very first steps with gut healing, and one that so many people are missing. If you listen to my podcast, if you read my blog, you know how passionate about this I am. And it's the first step I really take with my clients. And it's a step that I personally missed for years. And that kept me unhealthy for way too long. Like we already discussed, you need to be properly digesting in order to absorb food. And unaddressed poor digestion prolongs inflammation in the gut. We talked about how poor digestion can create more poor gut health. So you can jump into healing foods and a healing diet and supplements and all of that great stuff. But if your digestion is still off, it could all be for nothing, and you could be wasting a lot of time, effort, and energy. So how do you do that? How do you optimize your digestion? First, understand how digestion really works. That's always helpful in figuring out what is going wrong with yours. Next, slow down around meals and avoid eating on the go. Proper digestion can only take place in a relaxed state. So take time to sit down, be grateful, say a blessing, and really just be mindful about eating your food. I know that we're all busy, we all have places to be, people to see, but it needs to be a priority to sit down and make time for your meals. Properly chewing your food. Your stomach doesn't have teeth, and we have teeth for a reason. Remember, our intestines are only one cell wall thick. So not chewing your food is enough to damage your gut. Really, count how many times you chew, just on average. It's probably under 10. And in reality, you need to be chewing each bite of food 30 to 40 times. I know that sounds crazy high. That sounds like a lot. And it takes a while to train yourself, but it completely changes your digestion when you really chew your food and you really slow down. Finally, focus on proper supplementation. And honestly, that varies for everyone, but it's all about understanding what's going wrong with you and you personally. There is nothing wrong with adding in some supplements to help with your digestion. It's something that I still do on a daily basis, but it's all about knowing what you actually need. And a lot of that comes from that recognize step. Next is remove. And that's removing inflammatory foods, poor mindset, poor sleep habits, and poor quality products. The list of inflammatory foods varies from person to person. But in my experience, the list usually looks something like this. Processed foods, refined sugars. We know that those just really are not nourishing or helpful things. Seed oils. So canola oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, these are pro-inflammatory to the body and inflammatory to the gut. They are man-made, inflammatory, and do not have any place in a healing diet. Gluten and grains is another big one. We know that modern gluten is inflammatory to the gut, and grains that are not properly prepared, so they're not soaked and sprouted, they are heavily processed, are also really damaging to the gut lining. Dairy. Dairy is something that is also not friendly to a damaged gut. In high quality, it may be able to be reintroduced in the future. I've been able to reintroduce some dairy after going through this step-by-step process. It varies from person to person, but again, this is just a temporary protocol to remove this stuff and then to heal. So dairy is usually something that does need to be eliminated, and some people do leave that out long term. Soy is another big one. Legumes that are improperly prepared. So things like beans, peanuts, these need to be soaked and sprouted in order to be properly digested. And even in that case, they can be pretty harmful to the gut in a healing state. Alcohol is really rough on our gut bacteria. And then coffee is something that spikes up our stress hormones, which we already talked about. We know is not great for a healing state. And then poor quality meat and produce when you are able. It makes a big difference to be having grass-fed meat and organic vegetables when you can. But that doesn't mean that everybody can in every case. I certainly can't. But being mindful about making better quality choices when you can is great. And again, all of this is temporary. Some of these foods are left out permanently and other ones are able to be reintroduced. So like I said, I'm able to have dairy, I'm able to have coffee, I'm able to have other things right now. This is a temporary way to eliminate foods that are inflammatory to allow your body time to heal. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in a minute here. Next is sleep. So many of us are sleeping poorly. We do not get restful sleep. We don't prioritize sleep. However, healing occurs while sleeping. So we could be spending all of this time during the day trying to heal, but we go to bed at night and we are not prioritizing good sleep, and we are kind of wasting a lot of time during the day if we're not giving our body that time to actually rest and restore at night. So we must be getting good quality sleep to truly heal. Mindset is another enormous piece of the puzzle that most protocols completely skip over. If your mindset isn't on board, you're not on board. Negative self-talk, telling yourself you can't do it, hating the process, and more all impact your ability to stick with a healing protocol. It's one of those things that if you tell yourself that you can't do it or you tell yourself that you hate something, that's what's going to happen. Whereas if you shift your mindset to tell yourself that you can do it and that you do like this process, amazing things can happen. Something else that's overlooked is products. Products like makeup, personal care products, cookware, and cleaning supplies are absorbed through our skin, and we even ingest them. Think about lipstick or dish soap. You're ingesting that. And the ingredients in most of these things would really shock you and could definitely hold you back from healing. I remember one time I turned over my favorite lipstick that I was using all the time, and it had soybean oil and all of this other stuff in it that was just not optimal for my healing. And I freaked out, threw it away, and a lot more of us need to be turning over our products and realizing, okay, what is this actually doing to us? So it's not all about cutting these things out, but so much more of healing comes from adding good things in and replacing. So we're going to talk about replacing all of that stuff that we just removed. We need to add in healing foods to really heal. There's so much time spent in these diet spaces talking about, oh, just cut this food out, cut that food out, and not necessarily about the food that we need to heal. But food is medicine, and food really can help us heal if it is really nutrient dense and we are absorbing it properly. So what do we want to be focusing on? First, healthy fats like avocado, coconut oil, olive oil. Fats satiate us. They keep us full and they help to regulate the inflammation process in our body. Healthy fats help us to anti-inflame and regulate that inflammation. Plus, fats are carriers of nutrients. So if we eat tons of vegetables, but we're not eating a lot of healthy fats, those nutrients will not be carried as well without fats. So roasting your vegetables with fat, eating meals with fat is really important for healing. Then vegetables and herbs. High quality vegetables like leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, root vegetables, some starchier ones, and herbs are all really, really nutrient dense. They add in phytochemicals, they add in the vitamins and minerals that we need for our body to repair itself. Lower sugar fruits are also nutrient dense and great when eaten in moderation for most people. Pastured meats and wild caught fish when we can. These properly raised proteins are much healthier for us. So when we can make that change to grass-fed beef and pastured chicken and wild-caught fish, that's a great option. Like I said, not everybody can make that choice every single time, and that's fine if you can't, but if you can mindfully make that choice as often as you can, that is also amazing. Then healing foods like bone broth, which can heal and seal the gut lining. And I have recipes for this on my blog. And fermented foods, which re-inoculate our gut with good gut bacteria, which is so important. But it's not always enough to just eat lots of vegetables, healthy fats, and proteins. Many of us need next level healing diets like the autoimmune protocol, which is mostly what you will find on my blog, unboundwellness.com, low histamine diets, low starch and sugar, or low FODMAP approach. For some of us, this is a crucial step that we need to take, and others are fine with a less hyper-focused approach. But it all goes back to that recognize step, recognizing where you're at, what your triggers are, and which healing protocol is best for you. We already said mindset is huge, and we need to shift our mindset to one that is grateful, optimistic, and feels empowered by a healing lifestyle in order to really heal. I talk about this all the time, that I went with healing diets and healing protocols for years, but I felt bad for myself the entire time. I thought that if I wasn't eating pizza or I wasn't living a lifestyle similar to everybody else, that I just could never be a happy person. And I was never able to really commit because of that. But when I shifted my mindset, when I really got this step and grasped it, I was able to really change how I looked at healing and commit a lot more. So if we can shift our mindset, we can accomplish so much more in life and in our healing journey. Next is focusing on better sleep. To allow our body time for restoration and healing, we need to be intentional about better sleep. Be intentional about bedtime. Set a time every day that you want to go to bed and make sure that you are getting that around 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Practice good sleep hygiene and move throughout the day to help sleep. We need to be moving and getting sunlight to actually get restful and restorative sleep. Sleep is such a big priority in healing, and it is not something that we can overlook if we really want to heal and overhaul our gut health long term. Finally, replacing our products with safer ones like clean beauty, cleaner cleaning supplies, better quality cookware, and using resources like the EWG. So that is the Environmental Working Group to research products. They have a great website where you can type in different products, different ingredients to figure out what you already have is clean or dirty. There are a lot of blogs out there that are already talking about this as well. So there are some good resources out there to educate yourself on cleaner beauty, cooking supplies, all of that. But you can also do a lot of your own research as well. Next is restoring the gut lining. Very important step. People always ask me if food is enough to heal, and typically my answer is no. You really need more support to truly heal than just food. Repairing the gut lining with real food helps, of course, but bringing in supplements like L-glutamine, collagen, zinc, and more are all really helpful and often necessary. What you need and how much you need always varies from person to person, but it's not all about supplements either. There are also powerful healing practices that you can utilize, like castor oil packs, one of my favorite, infrared sauna, salt baths, dry brushing, and so much more. Next, re-inoculating our gut with good bacteria. First, we recognize and remove poor quality bacteria and overgrowths in the gut. We've already covered that step. Then we add in fermented foods, prebiotic foods, and healthy probiotic foods and supplements to re-inoculate with good bacteria. Probiotic foods particularly are so underrated and so necessary for prolonged gut health. Everybody always has questions about probiotic supplements, and that's great to add in as well. But probiotic foods are so important if you are re-inoculating your gut. All indigenous cultures had some sort of fermented food. That's how we kept food fresh before we had refrigerators. So we all had it. And it is largely lacking in our society today. Some of those foods that you can keep an eye out for in stores, or you can look for recipes online on how to make, are sauerkraut, kimchi. So sauerkraut is a fermented cabbage, and then kimchi is basically a more spicy fermented cabbage. Kombucha, kefir, and kvass, which are all beverages, all fermented beverages, which a lot of these are pretty trendy right now and pretty easy to make at home as well. Apple cider vinegar is also great. Coconut yogurt. There are more and more options popping up for this in stores for you to buy off the shelves. Good quality coconut yogurts, ones without fillers and gums. So one brand that I really like is Koyo. I buy that often. If you follow me on Instagram, you see me with that. But there are more coconut cult, and there are a lot out there. You can also make this at home. And then just homemade fermented veggies. You can ferment pretty much anything. I make fermented carrots sometimes, fermented radishes. Again, there's lots of recipes for this online, and it's a really important step. But if you're buying fermented vegetables in the store, just make sure that they are refrigerated. Ones that you just buy in a can, those are pasteurized, and they don't really have any of those good properties in them anymore. You want cold fermented foods. This is one piece of healing that is really missing for most of us, and it really, really shows, and that is relax. You cannot heal in a stressed state. If the body is keyed up, it cannot heal. And that's stress from a big bag of French fries or that mental and emotional stress. We need to be doing what we can to get into more of a relaxed parasympathetic state to heal. So many people say, well, I can't relax. I don't have time for self-care. My life is just stressful. However, you can, and you must make time to relax. It looks different for everybody, but we cannot write this off as a step that we just cannot even begin to touch. We need to focus on self-care, gratitude, and change our approach to stress. We also need to embrace community, relationships, and make the conscious decision to choose joy. When we are in community, when we are doing something like keeping a gratitude journal, writing down every day what you're grateful for, even if that's one or two small things. When you're focusing on that gratitude, you're not focusing on those stressors. So it's not necessarily ridding every single piece of stress from your life. That's never going to happen. Honestly, we're always going to have a fender bender, or we're going to be late to something. Like, stress is always there, but we need to shift our mindset and our approach to it. These things can completely change our lives if we take the steps to make it happen. It looks different for everyone, but it is so necessary. The last step is renew. So many people just stop their healing diet and jump right back into their old lives. But that leaves us right back where we started all too often. It's only a matter of time. We need to transition gracefully from a temporary healing protocol to a healthy, long-term lifestyle that is sustainable and keeps us from going back to square one where we started. We need to mindfully reintroduce foods one at a time in a safe manner. We can't just say, okay, my diet's over, I'm going to go and get a big slice of pizza. We need to reintroduce foods one by one to be able to figure out our reactions. We need to be reintroducing the right foods, high quality foods. There's a lot about this online, but it varies from person to person as well. Then understand the next steps to taking your healing journey. Again, that varies for everyone, but it really just depends on sitting down and looking at, okay, where did I start? Where am I still at? What are the steps that I need to take next? And finally, create a long-term, sustainable, healthy lifestyle that keeps us getting right back to square one. It changes all the time. Our lifestyle changes daily, but we need to be intentional about creating a healthy lifestyle. So continuing working with a doctor or a nutritional therapy practitioner to help keep us healthy, to continue on with eating healthy foods, continue with stress reduction, keep up that lifestyle that is healthy rather than just dropping it once you start feeling better. So in summary, this is the approach that we just covered for overhauling your gut health. Recognize and optimize, remove, replace, restore, reinoculate, relax, and renew. This approach is looking at more than just food, and covering all of these steps changed everything for me. It took me from a restricted and unhealthy life to a vibrant one. But I pieced a lot of this together on my own. It took me years to really commit and understand. There wasn't a simple system for me to follow, so it took me a really long time. And I'm not alone in that. These approaches are hard to put into practice. There are so many roadblocks to better gut health. First would be confusion. There's so much misinformation out there, and we don't know what to believe. Next is not enough structure in our approach, as well as lack of practical advice. We don't know how to take these big ideas and actually translate them into everyday life. And finally, the lack of motivation to get it all done. Many struggle for entirely too long, myself included, but you don't necessarily have to. Introducing Gut Health Overhaul, the comprehensive online program created by yours truly that is designed to help guide you through overhauling your gut health. So what's inside? What do you actually get with this? There are over 30 lessons that feature instructional videos and printable guides on the step-by-step healing protocol and advanced topics. There's in-depth information on healing with food with diet protocols like AIP, low FODMAP, low histamine, paleo and primal, and low starch, repairing your gut lining with holistic supplements, healing practices, and more. Actionable goals within each module to help guide your success and make the protocol actually practical and easy to follow. Support and motivation for shifting your mindset and managing stress. Advanced content on conditions like SIBO, Candida, and parasites. And then there are also options to receive a gut healing e-cookbook, meal plans, mindset journals, and one-on-one sessions. So this is how Gut Health Overhaul is structured. It is broken out into 6 modules with videos and printable guides for each section on a gut healing protocol similar to the one that we just talked about. But it really breaks it down. It gives you all of the information and it makes it practical and easy to follow and actually apply to your life. So first is recognize and optimize, and that's understanding your gut health, recognizing potential root causes, and optimizing your digestion. 2 and 3 are remove and replace, broken out into 2 parts. So first is removing inflammatory foods, introducing healing foods, and optimizing your mindset and sleep. And then module 3, we add in more healing foods, incorporate specialized healing diets. So we talk about AIP, low FODMAP, low histamine, low starch, building a healing pantry, building gut healing meals, and adding in cleaner household products. And then 4 is restore and re-inoculate. We talk about restoring your gut lining with healing supplements and practices and re-inoculating with good gut bacteria. And then 5, we move on to relax, which is focusing on self-care, community support, socialization on a healing diet, and choosing joy. Then finally, module 6, we move into reintroducing foods, understanding your next steps to take when Gut Health Overhaul is over, and regaining a new healing lifestyle long term, how to make healing and a healthy lifestyle sustainable. Plus, there are advanced topics like Candida, SIBO, and parasites. And if you get into Gut Health Overhaul and look at all of this and say, oh my gosh, this is so much content, how am I going to be able to put this all into practice? How do I make it practical? So within each module, there's all the content. Then at the end, there's a goals section where it recaps everything and it gives you 4 to 5 actionable goals that you actually want to focus on. So if it's all really overwhelming, it breaks it down. Okay, here's what you really need to be doing, and here's how you make sure that you are progressing and making the changes that you need to make. Makes it super practical and easy to follow. Everyone is at a different point of their healing journey and needs different levels of support. So there are actually 3 different packages with Gut Health Overhaul that make it more accessible and more tailored to your exact needs. There's the Essentials package, Expanded package, and the Live package. And To celebrate the launch of Gut Health Overhaul, all 3 of those packages are 25% off from right now, tonight, through January 18th only. After that, Gut Health Overhaul will still be there for you to get, but this deal is gone. So what do these packages look like and how much do they cost? The Essentials package has the over 30 lessons with instructional videos, printable guides on the step-by-step gut healing protocol and advanced topics on content like Candida, SIBO, parasites, and more. There's also a private support Facebook group for you to get ongoing support with other members throughout your process. That package is usually $147, but is on sale for $110 right now until the 18th only. Next, the expanded package, which gives you everything that the Essentials had, plus an entire e-cookbook. So if you like my recipes, this is full of them. There's only over 50 in there, and they're all targeted towards better gut health. There are also 6 mindset journals to help you personally shift your mindset and work through that, and 5 different meal plans for paleo, AIP, low FODMAP, low starch, and low histamine approaches. This is usually $177, but until the 18th, it is marked down to $133. And again, this will still be here after the 18th, but you are not going to get it for this price. Finally, the package that I am most excited about is the live package. So many people have been asking me about more one-on-one support, and here it is. The package gives you everything that the expanded package did, plus 2 30-minute one-on-one sessions with me, Michelle Hoover, over the phone. You get one in the beginning of the program and one at the end for guidance onto how best navigate the program and address some of your one-on-one concerns. Plus, for the 4 weeks in between those, you get 30-minute Q&A group coaching calls to get that support throughout. The first session kicks off January 22nd, and it runs for 6 weeks. And you guys, spaces are super limited in this. I am only one person, and this time it is just me. Likely in the future, I'll be working with another NTP to help me accommodate more people into this, but it's all me this round. So if you want to do this, if you want to work with me one-on-one, now is the time. Once this fills up, it is not opening up again until the spring. This is usually $297, but it's $222 for this week only. And once again, once it's filled, and that price is gone. So if you know you want that one-on-one support, if you know you want the group coaching, take advantage of this right now because it's going to fill up fast. So if you want to stop feeling confused, stuck, tired, I know so many of you feel this way. I've felt this way too. You can get started today with an approach that's more than just food alone, a system that makes gut healing practical, a community that provides support, and more. You get instant access today. Once you sign up, you get all of the modules right there. It's all there for you. And again, this sale ends January 18th. That is 1 week from today. And because you get immediate access when you sign up, you can literally start your journey to better gut health today. If you want to do that and you want to get started with living a more vibrant life, right now, go to guthealthoverhaul.com. Screenshot this, type it into another browser, and head over there now if you want that initial access today. That's guthealthoverhaul.com. So, you guys, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I hope you learned a ton and that you really enjoyed yourself here. You can find more from me at unboundwellness.com, which is my blog and all of my social media, Unbound Wellness, and now on guthealthoverhaul.com too. So thank you for being here with me tonight, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your evening.